proceed. What's your name?
My name is Charlie Kaminsky.
Where do you live?
I live in an apartment in Midland Center.
Do you have any family?
I have 2 cats, Fabio and Ragamu.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an entrepreneur. I own a small business. Quad A Transportation, the first name in luxury transportation in Midland.
What exactly does Quad A Transportation do?
Well, I drive anyone, anywhere within 50 miles of Midland Center. I have a few cars and it's been doing pretty good.
How familiar are you with Rock the World?
Oh, I'm very familiar with Rock the World. I've been going there since I was a kid.
How often do you go to Rock the World?
Nowadays, probably once every couple months.
Who worked the ticket booth in the summer of 2012?
Cameron.
How many transactions did you have with Mr. Poole?
Not very many. One that I can really remember.
What did you notice that was unusual about this transaction?
Well, I went to pay in cash for my wristband, and when I did, he put some of the money someplace that wasn't the register. And then I got a wristband that looked different from the wristbands I had had before.
How was it different?
Well, the color was slightly faded. It wasn't what it was supposed to be, and it didn't have the numbers on it like the wristbands normally do.
What did you do when you realized you'd gotten a different wristband?
Well, I asked Cameron about it. I asked him if I could have one of the regular wristbands.
How did Mr. Poole respond?
Well, he didn't give me one.
No. What did you notice about Mr. Poole specifically when you interacted with him this time?
Well, he didn't seem very friendly. He was a big guy, too, built like a refrigerator with a head.
What does Mr. Poole really look like?
Well, he's pretty tall, taller than me for sure, and big broad shoulders.
What does Whit look like?
Well, no offense to Whit, but he's kind of scrappy. Maybe about 5'5", 130 pounds, sopping wet.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what happened on August 30th. Were you planning on working that day?
No, actually, I didn't have any business lined up.
Where were you on the day of August 30th?
Well, I went to Rock the World. I figured I could use a break.
And what happened at Rock the World, excuse me, what happened at Rock the World that led to you getting a job that day?
Well, I got a text message, actually.
Who was this text message from?
I don't know. I didn't recognize the number.
What did this text message say?
Well, it it asked if I could pick up this person from a grocery store about a mile from Rock the World.
Is it unusual to get an anonymous job offer?
No, I really appreciate any new customers that I get, so I often get customers I don't recognize.
How unusual is it to receive a job offer via text?
Not unusual at all.
Did you hear from this anonymous person again that day?
I did.
What did they say?
Well, I asked who this was and what time, and they said that they'd give me $300 if I picked them up 15 minutes after they asked.
How unusual is it to receive job offers in cash?
Not unusual. As a limo driver, most of my business is in cash.
You mentioned that this customer said they would send you a later text message. At what time did you receive this second text?
I can't remember exactly, but it was about the middle of the day.
And what time did you receive the text message later on in the day that led to you leaving the park?
Oh, I did receive a later text message about an hour before the park closed.
Did you see anything unusual before you left the park?
Yeah, I saw a guy, looked like Cameron, running through the park, and he had another guy right behind him.
What did you do in response to this?
Well, they didn't do anything. The guy following him looked like a security guard. I thought it was all under control.
Were you able to meet your client on time?
Yeah, I was.
Who was this client?
It was Cameron, actually.
Who was with Mr. Poole?
Nobody. It was just him.
What happened when you saw Mr. Poole?
Well, when he walked out of the woods, he walked into the grocery store, and then he came back out, and he came up to my car. I told him I was waiting on a client, and he said, "Your client is here."
What did you hear while Mr. Poole was in your car?
Well, I heard he made a couple of phone calls.
How did you hear this?
Well, when he got in the car, he asked me to put the privacy screen up, so I did. But I was a little curious, and I left the speaker on.
You said he made a couple of calls. Who do you think the first call was to?
It sounded to me like Whit Bowman.
Now, how often have you spoken with Whit?
Oh, pretty often. I've spoken with them the past couple times that I've went to Rock Roll, about every time for the past few seasons.
Do you know his voice well enough to be able to tell it is his voice, even if he's not physically present?
Yeah, I think so.
What did you hear on this phone call?
Well, let's see. Cameron said something about we were going to get caught, something about Floyd and handing over money, and he said, "Don't worry, nobody will know you had anything to do with it."
What did Whit say in response?
Well, Whit said,
Objection,
Your
Your Honor, hearsay.
Your Honor, this is an exception to hearsay under Rule 8033. This falls under a mental, emotional, or physical state. This testimony will go to show Whit's lack of intent.
Statement?
The statement that the witness is about to say is that Whit said, "I didn't want anything like this to happen." It shows his lack of intent and lack of a plan.
Prosecution, you have a response?
Yes, any statements made by Whit Bowman is an out-of-court statement, and there's no exception to that rule that allows it to be admissible in court today.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Once more.
Under Rule 8033, there is an exception to hearsay if the witness is testifying to a statement made that falls under an emotional or mental or physical state. In this case, the statement that the witness is saying is going towards Whit's intent or lack thereof. He did not have the intent for this crime to occur.
May I respond?
Sure.
Well, counsel has laid no foundation as to how the witness would know anything was going on with Whit at that time. So the exception she's reciting isn't admissible.
Your Honor, the statement in and of itself is the foundation.
Because the rule specifically says such as motive, intent, or plan, and this statement does go to Whit Bowman's intent that this not happen, or that the events not have wished they had not happened. I think I'm going to allow it for that limited purpose. You may proceed.
Yes.
How did Whit respond to Cameron saying, "Don't worry, they won't know you had anything to do with it"?
Well, Whit said real loud, "I didn't. I never wanted anything like this to happen, you promised."
Now, how did Cameron sound on the phone to you?
He sounded pretty aggressive, threatening. I got a little scared on the front seat.
How did Whit sound?
He sounded confused and a little bit scared.
You mentioned 2 phone calls. Who was the second call to?
I don't know.
Was it Whit Bowman?
I don't think so.
How do you know it wasn't Whit?
Well, Cameron mentioned Whit on the phone by name.
What did Cameron say specifically?
Well, he said something about talking to Whit. He also said, what really stood out in my mind was, I'll lay low until we meet up at the bar.
When Cameron got out of your car, did you inform the police?
I did inform the police, but it was the next morning.
Why didn't you go to the police as soon as Cameron got out of your car?
Well, Cameron gave me $500. He said, if you promise not to tell anybody. I mean, $500 is, a class and a half at community college, so I took it. I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Now, what did you say to the police officers when they asked you questions about Mr. Poole?
Well, when they asked me the next morning, I told them everything that I knew.
Thank you, Ms. Kaminsky. No further questions.